all my rules. With 100 little triggeries I couldn't see coming, you would come around and wreck my room. I didn't know that it could get this sunny, and if I can just shut my mouth when you light up the crowd. Let me
getting tied up. Yeah, we'll just get together.
With 100 little triggers I couldn't see coming, you would come around and wreck my room. I didn't know that it could get this sunny, and if I can just shut my mouth when you light up the crowd. Now it's come the distances, and both of us must try. Your eyes are soft with sorrow.
I am a pirate of a new age. I sail a pirate ship. I'm a free agent, a citizen of the world. I am not owned by government or state. I am not controlled by corporate powers or influenced by public opinion. I navigate by an internal compass. I am a high seas revolutionary. I do not rape, pillage, and plunder. The power I possess, I do not count in gold. For I know the value of true power, source power, to which we all have access. I capture the imagination of women and the hearts of men, but not by force. No, not by force.
How many boyfriends in that?
For it is always more powerful to seduce than to conquer.
Yeah. Nice.
I know where the treasure is buried. I have the map. The thing is, our fortune is universal. The same X marks the spot for us all. Pirate Oh, thank you all so much for coming. This is so cool. It's supposed to be a year ago, of course, and it didn't happen. So it's so awesome to have you guys all here. I was going to do this whole spiel because that's what I'm kind of interested in right now, about how the predicament we are in the world and how we're going to do something about it. But then I realized you guys don't really know Pirate Girl. I've been on this island for like 12 years, but mostly I've been Mom. So most of you probably know me more as Mom and Devina, not as Pirate Girl. So I thought I would just introduce you a little bit to what Pirate Girl is all about. So when I was 22, I bought my first sailboat. Now I'd already kind of hitchhiked around Europe, and I hitchhiked around Mexico with almost no money. So I'd actually had quite a lot of life experience, but I didn't know anything about boats. And so I bought my first boat and I moved aboard right away. And about 3 days in, I went to turn on the light and it wouldn't go on. And then I thought, that's weird. So I went to make myself a cup of coffee and I tried to turn on the stove and it wouldn't start. And so I was like, what the hell? I just bought this boat. Like everything's starting, like nothing's working. So then I turned on the VHF radio that a friend of mine in the Anchorage had just taught me how to use. And it wouldn't work. And I was like, what the fuck? I just bought a lemon. So I call my friend over and I have him come over and I say, I just bought a lemon. Everything just broke on my boat. The light won't work, the stove won't work. And he said, have you checked the batteries? And I was like, batteries? Like, I don't know, in a house you turn on the freaking power and the power goes on. You don't have to think about like where it comes from. So that's how clueless I was. But I took the first year learning actually to sail her, and then I also rewired her, which I was really meticulous about. And then a year after I bought her, she sank during Hurricane George.
Oh.
Yeah, so I ended up spending, and if there's a book of pictures over here, so if anyone's curious, you can look through. I ended up getting an amazing education on boat repair. I rebuilt the diesel engine, I fixed the fiberglass on the side of the boat, 6-foot hole in the side, I rewired her again, I did all the rigging, I replaced all the decks, I rebuilt all the cockpit, and and then I ended up sailing her. And I sailed her up the coast, and a lot of stuff happened. But my friend Wendy was asking me what made me think about writing the book. So this was kind of 10 years down the line. I sailed her, it was the last big trip. I sailed her down to the Bahamas with a boyfriend who was actually, he was a diver and a surfer and a fisherman, and we assumed he'd be good on the water, but actually he was so full of anxiety. He was like drinking beer the whole time, going across the Gulf Stream. He was a mess. It was like, actually get out of my way so I could. So, and when I was there, I met a guy, he actually limped into the anchorage with his mast broken down. And so I rode over to hear the story and see if I could help at all. And I ended up becoming friends with him, and he was the one who was like, you need to write a book. And as soon as he said that, it was like it just lined up for me, like, oh my God, because, you know, sailing, you have a lot of time. And actually, he flew back from Florida, and I sailed back up the coast by myself. And you have a lot of time. And so throughout this whole time of sailing, I was also dreaming up Pirate Girl. So it was kind of the like creative side of the whole venture. The other thing that I've been really interested in, I've spent a lot of time doing, is reading. I really hated school. I describe the book, I say, having avoided patriarchal indoctrination as best she could. So that's really true. I mean, I almost dropped out of high school. I did all kinds of psychedelics through high school. Then I ended up doing 3 10-day silent meditation retreats. And then I went hitchhiking. So that was kind of my education so far, right? And so then, since then, I've been reading, and I love reading academic books. So my main interest of study is kind of like, what the fuck, people? What's wrong with us? Like, why can't we live in peace and harmony with the rest of nature? I mean, what's wrong with us? So that's really been what I've been studying. So I've read a lot of history, I've read a lot of psychology, I've read a lot of science, quantum physics, and I've been really thinking about this problem. And so I just want to talk about what the future of Pirate Girl is. So I came here, I've written the book. I actually intend to write another book. And that one actually is similar to the pictures in the picture album there. That'll be when I first bought my boat, that book. But what I really want to do now, so I just got in a boat. It was actually the boat that I fell in love with when I first got to Waiheke Island 12 years ago. She just became mine. And so I'm going to do some work on her. It's not going to be nearly, Bernard here was saying, oh, it's a major rebuild. No, it's not. It's just a little bit of paint. And then we're going to do some sailing. So that's what I really see Pirate Girl doing, is sailing. I'd love to be doing charters. And I've started doing videos in the last couple of years, and I haven't quite got the momentum going on that, but that is my idea, is to do videos about the problems in the world. Because think about it, how many times have you seen the apocalypse on TV? I mean, I've seen movies of the apocalypse, I've read books about the apocalypse, there's video games about the apocalypse. It's really easy to envision. But how many times have you seen the more beautiful world, where women are honored and children are safe, where nature is thriving, where we're all living in tight-knit communities and decentralized society? How many times have you seen that movie?
Never.
That's a fucking problem. How can we change the world if we can't even picture something better? You know, humans, we work with story. That's what makes us different from animals. It's actually our ability to tell story and get people to believe in the story that has enabled us to take over the whole world. That's what it is. It's because of story. You take 100,000, I mean, there's ants, termites, bees, they work in big groups, but they're really inflexible. They have been the same way for millions of years. Mammals can work in small groups, but you get a stadium full of apes and you'll have absolute chaos. But you get 500,000 humans in that stadium, it's the story of the football game that enables them to have culture and context of what behavior and all that kind of stuff. So it's really about story. And so I think it's really important that we start envisioning what we want in the world. Because the story that our civilization is built on is wrong. It's wrong. It says that we are all separate from each other, that we are separate from the earth, and that we are in competition, and that we need to compete for resources. That's the story that our whole civilization is built on, and it's wrong. We are all one. We need to change the story. So that's where I see Pirate Girl going, doing videos and doing sailing. So I would love to take all of you out sailing. Maybe this summer. We'll see how we go. I wanted to have a crew list. I wanted to have a thing where people could write their, if anyone's interested in actually doing boat work. Because I would love to get more people around to do that. I did so much of my boat work before all by myself, and I would love to make it more of a community thing. So I'll have to get somewhere we can get information for that. Anyway, if you haven't seen my pictures, they're over here. Check them out. There's food and drinks in the back. We've got books for sale, $20 mates rates. I'd love to sign the book if anyone wants to get one. And we're gonna have some music coming on, and there's, yeah, otherwise, enjoy. There had always been a whirring motor within me, a man-made machine that churned out expectations each day and kept me motivated. Without me, it argued, what would force you to be productive? What would keep you from becoming a vegetable? I, of course, argued back. There is a deeper source, and if you would just shut up, maybe I could hear it. Anyway, even a vegetable grows towards the sun. I go through periods of defying this whirring noise by giving myself over to completely doing nothing for days. Forcefully doing nothing, all up in its face. Waiting for the machine to lose its grip and let me go. But it was persistent and nearly indestructible. At other times, I'd quiet it with meditation and sport, drown it out with alcohol and pot. But its nagging would eventually return. Its attempts to prod me into action usually backfired, instead making me feel guilty and depressed because of my inaction. That whirring motor, the voice in my head, worked on the shame of not being good enough and the fear of death. There was only so much time to make something of myself. It was possible that it helped with production levels and the bottom line, though I remained skeptical. Who says that's what I needed anyway? I believe that each of us is a direct link to the divine. We are all made out of the same stuff. Everything is. At the tiniest level, with the highest power microscopes, physical matter doesn't even exist. It's all just vibration. Pure life force. I wanted that electricity to power me. When the motor was quiet and I was a hollowed vessel, then whatever moved through me, whatever I was inspired to do, whatever thing I created, welled up organically. It was pure, uncontaminated, straight from the source. The first day out on our voyage to Panama, I could feel the motor fighting to hold on. I was restless. It was too sloppy to sit in the cockpit with my computer because I was nauseous sitting below, staring at the monitor. I couldn't make jewelry because the little bits scattered with the motion of the boat. I wasn't hungry, and eating doesn't count as being productive anyway. Finally, the sea salt began to warp the machine fittings of this man-made contraption. The constant motion bent its precision teeth, and its noisy expectations eventually slowed to an irregular splutter. At sea, there was space. Only the sea and the sky, and I was suspended between them. I was freed from both the distraction of external clutter and the whirring of that internal motor. If I did nothing of consequence but keep watch and occasionally adjust the sails, I was still traveling towards my destination. I was still doing something. On the fourth night out, I awoke to my alarm at 11:55, crawled out from my bunk, braced against it, and pulled on my foul weather pants. When I climbed the few steps and came out on deck, I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me. I rubbed them and shook my head. We were surrounded, as far as I could see, by massive, smooth, rounded gray hills, each illuminated by the moon with a golden sheen.
Where the ground was rutted by the train loud wheels. The local Christian said to me, "You lower the price of property, you better get born in someplace else." Over lock and lock and lock and lock. Shift.
I met her in